Have you ever felt invisible in your own life? Like, no matter how hard you work, how much you achieve, or how much you sacrifice for others, nobody really sees you? You wake up every morning, fulfill your responsibilities, meet everyone's expectations, yet something deep inside feels fundamentally empty. You're successful on paper. You check all the boxes society tells you to check. But there's this gnawing sense that you've become a ghost in your own existence. You're performing a role rather than living authentically. What if I told you this feeling isn't personal failure or weakness? What if it's actually pointing to one of the deepest philosophical crises of our time, the crisis of recognition? And what if understanding this crisis could completely transform how you see yourself and your relationships? This feeling of invisibility touches something fundamental about human nature. We don't just want to exist. We need to be recognized, acknowledged, and valued for who we truly are. This isn't vanity or neediness. It's a core psychological requirement that shapes every relationship, every career choice, and every major life decision we make. The crisis of recognition is everywhere in modern life. It's in the parent who feels taken for granted by their family. It's in the employee who works overtime but never receives meaningful acknowledgement. It's in the partner who gives everything to a relationship but feels like their contributions are invisible. It's in the friend who's always there for others but feels unseen when they need support. This crisis matters more than we realize because recognition isn't just nice to have, it's essential for psychological health. When we consistently lack genuine recognition, we begin to lose our sense of self. We start performing rather than being. We become what others expect us to be instead of who we actually are. In today's world, this crisis is intensified by social media, changing relationship dynamics, and cultural shifts that have left many people feeling more connected, yet more unseen than ever before. We're busier than previous generations, more accomplished on paper, yet somehow less fulfilled at a human level. The philosophers who understood this best recognized the need for acknowledgement isn't weakness. It's what makes us fundamentally human. And understanding this need is the first step towards reclaiming your authentic self and building relationships that actually nourish your soul. The psychology of being seen. Let's start with a simple but profound truth. Humans are the only species that needs to be recognized not just for what we do, but for who we are. A dog doesn't care if you acknowledge its intelligence, it just wants food and affection. But humans, we have this deep, almost desperate need to be understood and valued as individuals. This isn't some modern weakness. Throughout history, the desire for recognition has driven people to create art, build empires, sacrifice their lives for causes, and yes, sometimes destroy relationships when that recognition isn't found at home. The need to be seen is so powerful that people will often choose negative attention over no attention at all. Think about your own life. When was the last time someone really saw you? Not the role you play or the function you serve, but the actual person underneath all those responsibilities. When someone asks, "How are you?" and actually waits for an honest answer, when your efforts are not just noticed, but genuinely appreciated. Most of us are starving for this kind of recognition, yet we've been taught it's selfish to want it. We're told to be humble, to not need validation, to find fulfillment purely from within. But this advice misses something crucial about human psychology. The authority of being heard. Here's where things get interesting philosophically. Recognition isn't just about feeling good. It's about having your perspective valued and your voice heard in decisions that affect your life. This is what philosophers call practical authority, the right to have input over your own existence. In healthy relationships and communities, people have a voice proportional to their investment and expertise. If you're contributing significantly to something, whether it's a family, a workplace, or a friendship, your opinion should carry weight. You should be consulted on major decisions. Your expertise should be acknowledged. But here's what's fascinating. When people consistently have their authority undermined or their input dismissed, they don't just feel bad, they begin to lose their sense of reality. They start questioning their own judgment, their own perceptions, even their own worth. Imagine working for years at a company where your boss never asks your opinion on projects you're deeply involved in. Or being in a friendship where the other person makes plans that affect you without ever consulting you. Or living in a household where your voice doesn't seem to matter in family decisions despite your significant contributions. This isn't just disrespectful, it's psychologically destructive. When we're consistently treated as if our thoughts and feelings don't matter, we begin to believe they don't matter. We internalize the dismissal and lose touch with our own inner compass. The performance trap. Now, this brings us to one of the most insidious aspects of the recognition crisis, the performance trap. When people aren't genuinely seen and valued, they often respond by performing harder. They work longer hours, take on more responsibilities, sacrifice more of themselves, hoping that eventually someone will notice and appreciate them. But here's the cruel irony. The harder you perform for recognition, the less genuine recognition you tend to receive. Why? Because people begin to see your efforts as your job rather than your gift. What started as generous contribution becomes expected performance. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine someone who consistently goes above and beyond, staying late at work, always saying yes to extra responsibilities, constantly helping others even when they're exhausted. Initially, people might appreciate this, but over time, it becomes the baseline expectation. The person's extraordinary effort becomes ordinary in everyone else's eyes. Meanwhile, the person performing is burning out, feeling increasingly resentful, and wondering why nobody seems to appreciate their sacrifices. They're caught in a cycle where they need to perform even harder just to get the same minimal acknowledgement they used to receive. This is the performance trap. The more you sacrifice your authentic self to earn recognition, the further you get from the genuine recognition you actually crave. The respect-recognition connection. Now, let's talk about something that might make you uncomfortable: the relationship between respect and recognition. In our culture, we often confuse these concepts, but they're actually quite different. Recognition is about being seen and appreciated for your contributions. Respect is having your boundaries, decisions, and authority honored by others. You can be recognized without being respected, and you can be respected without being recognized. The healthiest relationships and environments provide both. Your contributions are seen and appreciated, and your boundaries and decisions are honored. But when either element is missing, the relationship becomes psychologically damaging. Think about situations where you feel recognized but not respected. Maybe people praise your work but consistently interrupt you in meetings, or they appreciate what you do but ignore your boundaries and keep asking for more. This creates a hollow kind of validation that ultimately feels you used. Now think about situations where you might be respected but not recognized. People honor your decisions and don't cross your boundaries, but they never actually acknowledge or appreciate your contributions. This can feel cold and transactional, like you're valued only for what you can do, not for who you are. The absence of either respect or recognition creates different types of psychological damage, but both are essential for healthy human relationships. Breaking free from the recognition crisis. Here's the liberating truth that most people never realize. You have more control over this crisis than you think. The recognition crisis isn't just something that happens to you, it's often something you participate in by accepting relationships and situations that don't serve your fundamental needs. The first step is developing what we might call recognition awareness.
Start paying attention to the quality of recognition in your relationships. Are people genuinely seeing and appreciating you, or are they just using you? Do they respect your authority in areas where you have expertise and investment, or do they dismiss your input? This awareness can be painful because you'll start noticing patterns you've been ignoring. You'll realize that some relationships are fundamentally extractive. People take your energy, time, and contributions without giving back genuine recognition or respect. But this awareness is also empowering because it allows you to make conscious choices. You can start setting boundaries with people who consistently fail to see you. You can begin gravitating towards relationships and environments where recognition flows both ways.
You can stop performing for people who will never truly appreciate your authentic self. You can start recognizing yourself. You can acknowledge your own contributions, respect your own boundaries, and validate your own experiences instead of constantly seeking external validation. So here's what we've discovered. The feeling of invisibility in your own life isn't a personal failing. It's a signal that your fundamental need for recognition isn't being met. This need isn't weakness. It's what makes us human. The recognition crisis happens when we accept relationships where we're valued only for our function, not our essence, where our contributions are expected rather than appreciated, where our voice doesn't carry weight in decisions that affect us. But you're not powerless here. You can develop recognition awareness, set boundaries with extractive relationships, and stop performing for people who will never truly see you. Most importantly, you can begin the practice of recognizing yourself, acknowledging your worth independent of external validation. The path forward isn't about demanding recognition from others. It's about creating a life where genuine recognition can flourish naturally. I want you to try something this week. Take 5 minutes each evening to write down one thing you contributed that day. Not something you accomplished, but something you gave of yourself. Maybe you listened to a friend, solved a problem at work, or showed patience when you were stressed. Notice how it feels to acknowledge your own contributions instead of waiting for others to notice them. If this video helped you understand your own recognition crisis, hit that like button. Drop a comment sharing one area of your life where you feel unseen. You might be surprised how many others relate. And subscribe, because we're diving deeper into the philosophy of authentic living. Your recognition journey starts with recognizing yourself.